Take two. Killer. All right, what's happening? Wednesday night. Coming at you live. Throwing ourselves in the hot seat. Most each and every week. Myself and Nick Solnick, who is manning the audio and the visual, and the questions, comments, gripes, and complaints. I want to start off by saying that I want to send out a huge thank you and a whole lot of gratitude to all of the attendees that attended the camp this week. We had an awesome virtual Spirit of New Orleans camp, and I loved every minute of it. It was super great to see a lot of the faces that would have been here this past weekend, and to see a lot of the memories and pictures and videos that people were posting. But the people who wanted to join in virtually did. We had 30 people, and sometimes people were taking lessons with Shannon or Johnny, and sometimes some of the guys had gigs, and so it was great. We had anywhere just under or just over 30 people at a time. So it was awesome, and I really loved it. I'm planning on doing maybe like a one-day intensive once a quarter, so maybe look out for that. And it was just a blast, man. It was like a virtual reunion, which normally we have it in person, but this year we had to do it differently. And I'm so glad that everybody tuned in and participated. Sent out a bunch of PDFs, tried to share as much information as I could, and let a bunch of the attendees show some video of their own playing and performances that they've done recently as well. Some of it with bands, distanced, some of it solo with play-alongs, some of it just solo. So it was an interactive, fun experience. So yes, indeed, as we like to do, we start off playing a little bit, and then we start opening up questions, trying to keep it a little more general at first so that we keep everybody, and then we start getting into some drum-istic stuff. And lately, I've been kind of exploring and talking about, like, for fun, like how you could play tunes differently. So just now I played this tune, Big Uns Get the Ball Rolling. I was experimenting while we were sound checking with like different ways of playing this. And so that's the way, I just played it the way that I usually kind of play it, which I realize is kind of based off of a 2-3 clave, based off of Robert Walters' bass line. And then there's several different ways you could do that. I mean, I could play it, any number of ways, I guess, for fun. Why don't we start it again, as it almost automatically did. I'm going to try playing it on the snare drum, which I think is like a little too busy for this. That's why I choose to play it between the hi-hat and snare. Then I'll also move it over. Well, let's just try it like this. I'll try playing it on the snare drum and trying to make it work. And I don't know, comment. Tell me if you like this better. But sometimes when you're working with musicians and producers, you need to try to come up with something that makes the people you're working with happy. If I was playing this with a brass band, if this was a bunch of horns, maybe I'd play it this way. With both hands on the snare, doing more of like a second line type of thing. I don't know, I'm gonna experiment, throwing myself in the hot seat, because that's what we do. So that was fun. Trying it on the snare drum. Now I'll try it with more of a lighter, more swinging approach, I guess, and on the ride cymbal. So let's try that. Hit me, Nick. Yeah. I mean, now let's try it one more time.
Who says let's play with brushes?
Oh, sure. I'll play with brushes. Check it out. With brushes. All right, now I'm gonna try it, and I think this is too busy, but I'm gonna try it with some of the left side percussion, just for kicks. Hit me, Nick.
Okay.
Fun. All right.
We got some questions coming
Got some
in.
questions. All right, cool. So yeah, let me just comment on that real quick. I mean, there's different ways I can go with tunes, and sometimes I'll lock into a way of doing a tune because that's the way that it seems that the people I'm playing with are the most comfortable with it. But then sometimes it's fun to completely do things differently. I love that request to play with brushes. I've not played that song with brushes before, so it was fun to do that. But I mean, we can get into that. Some of you guys who have been checking out what I've been doing for a while, you know that I have these couple of things I do with brushes that I like to be able to fit in any situation. And I knew it would work, even though I hadn't done it before. So yeah, cool. All right, so we have some questions coming in. Nick?
Yeah, we do. Hope everybody can hear me.
There's Nick,
Test.
responsibly wearing his mask,
Yeah. Can everybody hear me, or am I muted?
halfway across the room. I can't hear you, and
Okay, that's probably.
we're figuring that out now.
Yeah, it's because here we go.
Well, read the question.
The question is, can you hear me now?
I think so.
All right.
There we are.
There. Woo! Technology.
Nice.
Figuring it out as
All
we go along.
right. So the question, one person, I just thought this was a really good question. Somebody was asking the difference between playing with an organ on the bass versus playing with a bass.
Okay, that's a great question. So, a lot of times playing with an organ player playing the bass, it can be simpler because the keyboard player, the organ player, is also playing bass, right? So they're preoccupied with their right hand and playing the melody or comping or whatever it is that they're playing in the right hand, and then in the left hand, and sometimes with the feet, as is Joe Ashlar, Will Blades, two of my favorite organ players to play with who play with their feet. Of course, Dr. Lonnie Smith, I mean, one of my favorite musicians of all time. But those three organ players incorporate the feet and the left hand. And so for some organ players, not those guys that I just mentioned, but for some organ players, it's a lot going on, so they may simplify the left hand. Robert Walter, as you could hear just now, even though he doesn't incorporate the pedals, his left hand is very active. That's a lot of notes going on. Even if it was just a bass player who was just playing bass, right? But Robert is really awesome in that way. And, shout out to the great Rocco Prestia from Tower of Power. He would play, he would play stuff like that, right? So I think that Robert's left hand playing in that instance is maybe a shout out to Rocco. But some organ players might play boom, dum, dum, gong, gong, dum, dum, gong, 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 gong. They might simplify that, right? Which would mean that maybe you have a little bit more room to be a little more active on the drums. With Robert Walter, he's playing all those notes, so you've got to make sure that you're locking into that, right? And I've played with Robert enough to where we understand each other's feel, and I can adjust and play to him that way. And then some bass players choose to play kind of in a simpler way, like you might have an organ player's left hand. Not Robert Walter, because he has a very active, very accurate left hand as well. But like Robert Mercurio, I love playing with Robert because he plays more like an organ bass player's left hand usually, or like a sousaphone, like a tuba. And you're pushing so much wind through the tuba, the sousaphone, that a lot of times tuba players are not necessarily playing as busy as some bass players because they have to take breaths and they have to breathe. So I like playing with bass players that take breaths and breathe. Organ bass players, a lot of times. Robert Mercurio, a lot of times, and tuba players. And then, some bass players get very active on the bass, and that's cool, but that can sometimes mean that the drummer has to play less. And then, I am starting to play less as I get older and mature as a musician, but as, coming up younger, I, still have a lot of energy, but especially younger, lots of energy, and I just want, really playing a lot of stuff. So it's good to have that space. But now, I'm trying to find some more balance in my own playing and edit myself even more. So leaving more space for bass and and other instruments as well. Hopefully that's a long answer to your very short question, but that's what we do. We talk a lot because I can't hear back from y'all except for in the comments. All right, Nick.
All right. Another question.
That was a good one though. We got some good different comments and questions coming in this week.
Another question is, it's like I just feel like it's a two-part question. One would be like how do you stay healthy, specifically like in your lower back, from playing for a bunch of years, and then someone had mentioned that they had tendonitis in their elbow, and wondering if you had ever had to work through an injury like that. So maybe how do you stay healthy, and then if you've been injured, how did you work through it?
Okay, that's a great question. And I admittedly am not as healthy as I would like to be. I like to eat. So I love eating pizza. I love eating burgers. But then I also try to offset that with salads sometimes. And if I'm on the road and really trying to be in health mode, I'll eat more poke and power bowls and go, to places like Daily Beat and, eat kale salads and try to eat as healthy as I possibly can. But throughout this time, I've been stressed out and eating more comfort food. So, as you can probably tell by some of the COVID LBs, but I try to eat in moderation. I like to enjoy myself. I like to eat. I like to eat pasta. I like to eat, all the good stuff, but I also need to balance that. So I will, on the road, I'll order stuff to come to the bus, like poke. Most towns have poke, or good power bowls, stuff like that. And then I have a few different like push-up and also the bands, because those you can just put in a suitcase and they don't weigh anything. You can take them with you. So I have a few of those things that I do. Also have a few core things that I do that also work on the lower back. And I admittedly have not been doing those as much lately. But I'm going to try to get back into doing that a little bit more. So a lot of moderation. I don't exercise overly, like I was doing that for a while. So to get to your injury question, I was like doing some high impact exercising, getting into that a little bit too much, and then started to feel it in my lower back. So I started doing that less. I cut back on. I quit doing it. I had to because it was starting to hurt my back. And that same tour, that same summer, I was hitting really hard. Galactic was opening up for Government Mule, and so I was coming out and just like, okay, we're gonna hit hard. And I started to develop a lot of tension here. So through a lot of conversations with my wife, who was super supportive and super insightful, she was looking at how I was playing, and I was explaining to her how I was gripping the stick, and she could see it here, that that there was just too much tension there. So I started making a conscious effort to hold the stick looser. So I've always been using this middle finger as my fulcrum. But then I was letting my arm, especially hitting backbeats, I was letting my arm absorb too much of the impact. So I just started making a conscious effort to let go of the stick even more after that tour, and work on it and work it out. And it took a little time, and it took a little focusing on not, like when I would hit backbeats, not letting the impact of it come up my arm. Like basically almost letting go when I would impact the drum. So I have had to deal with that, and luckily, I mean, it wasn't too bad, and I was able to pull out of it. And I was wearing a brace for a while. I was wearing an elbow brace and putting ice on it, and also working through it. So, you know, by doing all of that and then making a conscious effort to change what I was doing, to let go of the stick more. And I don't mind if I drop sticks, because that means that I'm loose. And I would rather be loose than be tight and breaking heads, breaking cymbals, breaking sticks, and absorbing all that impact in my arm. So I do pay attention to it, and one tour I wasn't paying enough attention to it, and I had to adjust. So I hope that's helpful. But
is there anything that you do specifically with your posture? Like, talk about like your posture behind the drum.
absolutely. So Nick, if you want to,
Oh, hey.
hey buddy, you dropped your
Mic fell.
mic
Yeah,
fell?
so to repeat that, yeah.
Oh, I heard it.
Okay.
Oh well,
for
to
now.
repeat it for the people, sure.
Is
so
there
they can
anything
hear it.
specifically that you do with your posture?
Yes, there is. Okay, so I like, especially through all of this, like, this is the first time in my adult life that I've been able to be home and set my own bedtime regularly, and then wake up on my own, and I've found that I've been enjoying waking up early. So I usually, you know, get in bed pretty early. I mean, y'all are gonna be, people have been surprised by this when I say this, but man, I like getting in bed at like 9:30, crashing out in between 10 and 11, and I wake up in between 5:45 and 6:30 a.m. And then I make coffee for Lauren and I, and then I'm hopefully shedding by 6:30, 7 a.m. So I've been shedding some rudimental stuff. I've been shedding some independent stuff, and then this is what I do. When I start shedding, I might be like still kind of groggy or asleep, and now I realize, oh, wait a minute, I'm hunched over. I need to sit up, and I need to roll my shoulders back, right? So I'll do that. I'll make a conscious effort while I'm warming up, while I'm practicing in the morning. Instead of playing like this, I sit up and I roll those shoulders back. And then I also imagine that I've got an imaginary bolt of energy going through the top of my head, through my spine, out the base of my spine, to the center of the planet. And I know it sounds kind of, you know, it might sound a little theoretical or cosmic, but I mean, we are made of energy. So I'm trying to channel energy, have it come through the top of my head, through my spine, out the base of my spine, and have that energy keep my posture in check. Because if I'm over like this, then that energy is like, it's all curly-cued and not direct. So I try to keep I think of that. That's what helps me. That's what helps keep me focused on my posture. And posture is super important to me. And if you can notice, with all black on, maybe you can't see it as well, but I try to keep my hips just above my knee. So it's a slight slope downward, but I don't want to sit too high. You see how much you're sloping down, and I don't want to sit too low to where I'm like this, you know. So just hips just above the knees, so that I'm balanced. and my posture is in check. And you have to figure that out and decide what that is going to be for your body and your posture, because everybody's different. But I hope to be doing this maybe another 50 years. And I want to make sure that I'm conscious of these things. Posture, not holding onto the stick too tightly, loose grip, good posture. These things are important if we want to do this for a long time, which I do, because, you know, as of right now, this is all that I'm qualified to do. That's why I enlist Nick, because he's good at all the technological stuff, and he enjoys that aspect of it. So,
another question people have, there's a couple questions kind of regarding this, so maybe we can kind of change the subject. But first, like, maybe we'll talk about your in-ear monitors, and then kind of what you like in your mix and your in-ear monitors, and then maybe we can, after that, we can get some questions specifically regarding that and playing along the tracks.
yeah, definitely. So we can definitely talk about that. So my in-ear monitors are the Jerry Harvey Audio, and these are the Roxanne, right? And they are admittedly not cheap, but I think they're worth it. I think they're really, really solid, really good, and I think that they, you know, they might be the best in-ears that I've had. And several of our band members have them as well and really dig them, right? Our sound man has them. Our keyboard player, Rich Vogel, has them. Several other people I know have them and really dig them and like them, love them. So that's what I'm using. What do I like to get in my in-ears? Y'all some of y'all may have, this might take you by surprise, but I don't get any drums in my in-ears. And I do that on purpose. And that's because I feel like if I can't hear the drums when I'm playing them, then the band is too loud. So I start off by getting no bass drum in the monitor, in the mix. And I try to mix everything down to that, to keep everything at a manageable volume level. And I've done it that way ever since we started touring 25 years ago. And I've gotten used to it, and that's the way I do it. So that way I've always got a ground zero. The ground zero is the bass drum. If I'm in a different system every day, and when we start a different monitor, guys, every day, and I'm trying to, you know, spending 5, 10, 15 minutes trying to get my bass drum to sound right in a different system every day, and then trying to get that loud enough to where I can hear it. Then I'm trying to get the bass louder than that, and then I'm trying to, like, you know what, let's just take that out of the equation. Let me just get used to playing with no bass drum in the mix. And so that has saved me countless hours of trying to EQ the bass drum. That has also hopefully saved my ears a bit, and I can get things lower. Because if you get the bass drum in your monitor, then you got to get the bass louder so you can hear that. Then you got to get the guitar louder, and then you're just chasing everybody. Everybody's chasing each other to 11. So my bass drum is always ground zero, and I just bring everything down to that. In my in-ears playing along with play-alongs, I do like to get that pretty loud so I can lock into it. If I'm playing to a click, I like that to be pretty up in the mix so I can hear it. I don't have to strain to hear it. And, you know, sometimes I'll play some of the tunes with Galactic to a click so that to make sure that the vocals aren't rushed out. And, you know, then there's just never any like, oh man, that song was too fast tonight. It's like, well, it was at the same exact tempo that it was at last night. So that helps.
Classic.
Yeah. Classic. So that helps, and helps just kind of level the playing field. Everybody knows that, this song is at the same tempo every night. And there are nights where Robert Mercurio and I will look at each other, and he knows that, we're playing it to a click, and I know it too. But we look at each other and we're like, feels slow tonight, right? It's like, yeah, it does. But we know it's the same tempo it was last night and the night before. So sometimes our bodies feel things differently. Sometimes the climate, sometimes the altitude. I mean, there have been times when we've been playing in Colorado where things feel slower. I don't, maybe it's because we're tired, or maybe it's because of the altitude. Maybe it's less oxygen. I'm not sure, but it is a natural musician tendency to want to play things faster live. It is show tempo. I mean, James Brown is proof of that, and he loved having things be faster live. And he's one of the funkiest guys of all time, but he liked that band to be pushing, to be cooking, to be fast and funky. And some of that stuff is some of the funkiest stuff you'll ever hear. I mean, there was a time, I think it's 1969, the Olympic Theater, the song "There Was a Time," and it's fast, but it's like a freight train, and it's Clyde Stubblefield on drums. It's so funky, just unbelievable. But anyway, that's be aware that if you're working with singers, the musician's natural tendency can be to play things faster. And if you're playing things faster, you need to make sure that the singers are able to get the words out. That's important. And we need to learn how to play well with each other. And as Nick said several times during the camp, keep the gig, right? So saying things several times reminds me, anybody who's digging the way I present things, or the way I talk about drums, the way I explain things, I want to mention you can check out the 14-day trial on the Drum Academy. Just go to StantonMooreDrumAcademy.com and sign up, and it'll let you try it for 14 days. And you can cancel anytime in those 14 days. Not to sound too silly, but I'm trying to figure out a way to make a living in this time when I can't gig and can't tour, and it has been challenging. And we'll mention the virtual tip jar too, which is in the description. Both things I just mentioned are in the description, and Nick can put up the virtual tip jar, Venmo, and PayPal info right here. There we go. Look at that. Look at all the things we've learned in this time.
Okay. To expand on, just to keep going, because there was still some more questions sort of revolving around the in-ears and things. One is are your ears are molded?
Yes, they're molded. Yes.
Someone asked that.
Yeah.
But so when you're playing to tracks, how do you approach playing to tracks? It's a great example. Is just what you do at the beginning of these live streams.
Yeah.
What's your process?
So, one, I want to make sure that I can hear the track. That's important. But you also have to be careful and not hurt your hearing. So that's why in-ears are good, because they also block out some of the drums, some of the louder frequencies of the drums, so that when you are playing with a band or playing to play-alongs, you don't have to get it as loud. So if I were playing natural drums without in-ears and then trying to get a monitor louder than that so I could hear it, that's a lot of volume. So in-ears, what my process is with playing to tracks is I like to get it nice and healthy in here, but not too loud, right? And I want it's almost like glasses, or if you're on a computer screen, enlarging the image. So you want to be able to read it without straining. So to me, playing to a play along is I'm reading something, and I need to be able to hit every letter. And by reading, I mean I'm reading it with my ears. I'm listening to every note Robert Walter is playing. In that play along, there is no click in that play along. So I really have to listen to the notes, and there are a lot of notes going on. And so, you know, if you're not familiar with every single syncopation, it can throw you off because there is no click. And in some things that we do have click. Some of the Galactic tunes that I've done, they have a click in them, and then you can mix that so that you don't hear the click. So that's one of the things that we have to do when we prepare some of these Galactic things that I've been playing too as well. And I'll be pulling some more drums out of Galactic tunes and doing play-alongs. So all these play-alongs that I've been playing along to are available on the Drum Academy. And we're going to be doing more and more play-alongs as we go forward. And I just talked to Robert Mercurio right before this, and we're going to be doing some more Galactic play-alongs. There were some requests during the camp. Nikos, I think I'll be able to meet some of your requests to do some of the earlier Galactic stuff without drums. No promises, but I'm going to try. We're going to do some Herlin Riley loops to practice to. And yeah, all that stuff, fun stuff to work on, practice to. And I'm putting all that stuff up on the Academy. So, yes, indeed. Nick, you have some more questions coming in?
Well.
And also, Nick, I meant to say, last week I was driving home and my mom was like, "You didn't see my comment?" I was like, "Oh, I didn't see your comment." Well, because Nick reads all the comments. So, Nick, if you see a comment from Ann Moore.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's my mom.
Sorry, Mom.
Sorry, Mom.
Sorry, Mom.
Sorry, Mom. If you want to comment now in Facebook, you can go ahead. We'll be looking for it. My mom has been watching these streams most every week. So shout out, hi, Mom. Hi, Lauren. Lauren's been watching sometimes too. So cool.
So my chat feed kind of just it like disappeared for some reason, but I'm back. I'm back on.
But he's back on now.
I'm back on. So
We're
you
back.
Keep talking, y'all.
Okay. So if you asked a question and we didn't get to it, feel free to copy it and paste it again.
Yeah,
so.
I read them all, but I mean we're pretty caught up.
Okay.
The only question was like more tech question. Yes, we use OBS in the studio, but when we're mobile, we use a Blackmagic mobile rig that I've been slowly building. Back to Stanton.
Yeah, in the studio we're using OBS. We're using the Roland VHD1. Did I say that right?
Yes.
And
V1 HD.
V1 HD. And shout out to Jim Toscano, who has been the go-to guy for drummer tech in these times. A lot of guys have been reaching out to him and learning how to film and stream themselves. I think Dave Weckel, David Garibaldi, Dave Stanek turned me on to Jim Toscano. Guy Gelso has been going to Jim Toscano. And you can look him up. He's on YouTube and Facebook and all of those things. Jim Toscano, great source for learning about tech. And he has helped Nick and I get to this point. And I started off just by opening my computer and playing drums into my computer on Facebook Live, knowing that was going to be pretty lackluster, to say the least, technology-wise, but I felt like it was more about the connection, and we would catch up on the technology, and by putting ourselves in the hot seat each week, it would force us to learn new stuff each week, which we've been doing. And I want to give a shout out to all the people who have been following us, watching us, and tolerating us while we figure this out. And we continue to figure it out. So I see some more questions.
Yeah,
comments
they're popping up.
popping up.
One question, we did cover this earlier, so you can go and rewind, but we were talking about seat height.
Yes.
So I would just scroll back a little bit in the video if you want.
Yeah, you can scroll back.
It's the beautiful thing about live streaming.
Yeah.
You can rewind.
You can rewind. And, you know, I like to sit not too high. I like to sit with my hips just above my knees. So you can see that slight slope there. And this way I'm balanced. And I like to play, since we're talking about it, can I get the foot cam, Nick?
Mm-hmm.
And why don't we make that full screen if you don't mind? There we go. So I like to keep my heels on the ground as much as possible. So I'm always doing this. So my heel is on the ground half the time. So if I'm playing, you know, if it's swinging out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, so right. So So notice I started playing, so what I do is it's not really heel up. My heel's not up the whole time. When I'm not playing, let's keep that foot cam for a sec, Nick. So while I'm not playing, my heel is down. And then when I do play, I lift my heel up and then I come down and let the bass drum beater hit the head and then come right out. So let me hit my lav so I can show you that. So I was showing you when I feather and play lighter on the bass drum, I'm playing heel down, so the heel is there, so that when my heels are on the ground most of the time, I feel more balanced. I think I played off balance for years. I was just not aware of that, and I didn't think about that. And I was playing maybe heel up and a mixture of different things, and once I started concentrating on what I was actually doing and being more aware of that, then it helped solidify my balance, which is important. And, you know, Jojo Mayer has Secret Weapons for the Modern Drummer Part 2, which is all about footwork. Thomas Lang talks a lot about footwork. There's a great video from, I believe, Drum Channel, where Thomas is talking about his approaches to foot technique and basically
I'll post a link in the chat.
Yeah, post a link in the comments. You know what that is? You know which one that is? And, you know, Thomas is a good buddy, and he explains his approach to footwork and, you know, balance and seat height, all with no pedals on a concrete floor, with my other good buddy, Dirk Erschlinger from Drum Trainer in Berlin. So those two guys talking about foot technique, and it makes so much sense, and there's no pedals, no drums, and Thomas explains it beautifully. So after watching things like that and Jojo Mayer's Secret Weapons for the Modern Drummer Part 2, that will greatly help deepen your understanding of foot technique, foot placement, balance, and how to accurately or how to more effectively use those things to your advantage. I wish that I had known all that a lot younger. But, you know, in the last decade or so, I've been focusing on that more. But I wish that I would have known that when I was starting out. So it's so crazy how fast the time goes. It's 6:53. We've got like 7 minutes left.
Wow.
Wow!
There's all these questions coming in.
All these questions. Well, great.
Well,
let them come in.
I mean, so just like, I mean, to wrap up the whole thing with bass drum and stuff, one person did ask, do you alter your foot technique when playing on a ported head versus a non-ported head?
That is
It's a drum nerdy question.
That is a great question. So the answer is, for me, I don't think I alter it as much, but you can. On a ported head, you can get away with playing with the beater into the head, okay? You can get away with that more because the air has room to get out. It gets out of the port. But if you do that with a non-ported head, like with an 18, and you play the beater into the head, it'll sound pretty awful. It almost sounds like a basketball being bounced off of the floor. So if I'm playing a ported head, I might play heel up and really lay into things and bury the beater. Check it out. I'm gonna play some pretty heavy, loud funk for a second and bury the beater. And admittedly, I realized I haven't played like that in a while because I feel off balance like that. So yeah, you can see now that I'm looking at this foot cam. Check this out. Yeah, that doesn't feel as balanced to me anymore. So I think in general, I've been playing more like this on a ported head or non-ported head. And then I think I used to, on a ported head, bury the beater sometimes, but I think I do less of that now. So, it came up in the camp, like, what are things that I work on for bass drum dynamic control, right? And one of the things is just play a simple sticking. We can shout out to Johnny V, play the right, left, right, left sticking, okay? On top of the mambo bass drum pattern. And then put the accent in different places. And then maybe play a crescendo with the foot. Right? So challenging yourself to do those different things. And then, you could play upbeat 16th notes, right, on the right foot and do crescendos. So that way, when I'm playing those second line stuff and stuff where I want to get expressive with the bass drum, I can play melodic stuff by playing dynamics with the bass drum, by putting myself through these steps, right? Nice. You like that? So, I put myself through those steps. Like I, created little things for myself to work on so that I could have dynamic control over the bass drum. Some people, they sit down at a bass drum and it's like, oh, bass drum sounds like this. I'm like, no. The bass drum is a musical instrument and you can play so many different things with it. So, admittedly, I don't have a fast foot. I think I do have a dynamic foot, though. And that's what I worked on as far as footwork goes, is dynamics, musical expression, and now I'm trying to work on making my foot faster. So shout out to George Colias, my good buddy.
Yeah, George.
Yeah, George. And there's an interview with George and I sitting in these chairs right here. And that's on the Academy. And not to sound like a sales pitch, but if you want to check out the Academy, go to StantonMooreDrumAcademy.com and you can try it out for free for 14 days. All right. Do we have any more questions?
Yeah, there's some questions. I think here's a cool general question. Somebody's been starting to check out Idris Muhammad.
Yeah.
And nice job.
Yeah.
Keep doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So,
one of my favorites of all time.
Yeah. So what is what are some of your favorite records that he's on?
Okay, that's a great question. And Idris is in that picture. There's 6 drummers in that picture, that black and white picture on the wall above that 60s Gretsch kit. Idris is middle left. He's one of my 6 favorite drummers of all time. And what are some of my favorite records to check out from Idris? So I've written a lot of lessons talking about some of Idris's stuff too. And so some of my favorite records are the Grant Green records that he played on. So things like Green is Beautiful and, there's the Jam Master Volumes 1, 2, and I think 3. And that's all like the Grant Green funky stuff, right? Put onto a compilation. Because there used to be like 1 or 2 funky tunes and then like a ballad and maybe swinging out thing. But they put all the funky stuff on Jam Master Volumes 1, 2, and maybe 3. Grant Green. Okay, so Grant Green. And one of the things, this is one of Idris's trademark beats, right? Where he's playing right, left, right, left, right, left in the second half of the beat, starting on beats 3 and 4. So right, right, which is admittedly a paradiddle, and then left, right, left. So this is one of Idris's trademark signature things. So, those Grant Green records with Idris Muhammad, some of my favorite Idris records. John Schofield, Groove Elation, has some of the best Idris Muhammad playing on it of all time. Super, super grooving, super, super funky. And when he made that record, he was like 60-something years old. So between Idris Muhammad and Steve Smith, shout out to Steve Smith, those were the those were two of the guys that I first started noticing, like, oh man, you can just keep getting better as you get older. Like, as long as you take care of yourself and keep working and keep, for Steve Smith, keep practicing. He's a big practicer, and he's been an inspiration to me. And we stay in touch and let each other know what we've been working on. And Idris just gigging and playing and touring all the time, just kept getting better. And so that inspires me, as I get older, to just keep shedding, trying to get better. There's no expiration date on improvement, right? At least not in music. So that's one of the wonderful things about music, man, is you can keep getting better. And that's what I keep trying to do. So I know we may have some more questions coming in, but we try to keep these to an hour so that we keep people coming back.
Keep them wanting more.
Keep them wanting more. Yeah, man. So, man, Idris, God, I love Idris. And, one of the things that I use a lot is this thing that I call the right, left sandwich on right, left bread. I know that sounds crazy, but when I tell it to you, you'll never forget it. So it's right, left, then right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, then right, left. So it's a slice of right, left bread with 4 slices of right, left, and then another slice of right, left bread on the bottom. The reason I'm telling you about this is because the first 2 beats, that's one of the things that Idris Muhammad, along with a lot of other people, have used. It's Academy lesson number 11, right? This thing. Your laugh. And then Johnny V's right, left, right, left, right, left is after that. And that creates right, left bread with 4 slices of right, left, and another slice of right, left. Check it out. Right, left, 4 slices of right, left, and then a slice of right, left underneath. Right, left sandwich on right, left bread. Watch, I'm going to do it with my pad so I can talk to y'all. We're going way over time, but you've got me inspired because I'm talking about Idris Muhammad. So check it out. Right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. And 1. Slice. Sandwich. And 1. All right, so now I'm just going to mess around with that. And I'm going to mess around with this new LP Tambo stick that they'll be coming out with soon. I helped design this with them. And I'm going to mess around with this. This is like, this is a mix of Idris Muhammad and Johnny Vodakovich, really, when you think about it. And I'm just going to play a little bit of this. And then we're going to say goodnight. Check it out. Yeah, you're right. Fun with Drums. Wednesday Night Live. December, what's the date? I don't even know. I'm surprised I even know it's Wednesday night. But thank y'all. It's been great hearing from some of y'all and hearing some of the questions. I will be going in and reading some more of the questions and commenting to some of the stuff that maybe we didn't get to, or maybe people are chiming in after we've gone live. So again, if you feel so inclined, my virtual tip jar is open. All proceeds go to needy families, mine and Nick's, and the Drum Academy, StantonMooreDrumAcademy.com, 14-day trial. I would love to have you check it out and hopefully stick around. A lot of this stuff that I've been talking about, we have filmed and posted in there along with notation and PDFs. And there's a great community forum in there. We're all sharing stuff and hipping each other to other things that we can all read about, learn about, watch. Oh man, I'm having a blast reading the Jeff Porcaro book by Robin Flans. I know some of my subscribers have been talking about that book. Shout out to Kevin Lehman. I know you read it. I was like, man, I gotta get it and I gotta read it. So I've been reading it, and my wife Lauren is like, wow, you're really blazing through that book. I'm like, yeah, it's awesome, super great. And I'm listening to a lot of the recordings that they're referencing and talking about. So if y'all haven't checked out that book yet, that'll make that's a great book. It'll make a great Christmas present for yourself or a drummer buddy, or if you're watching this and you are not a drummer, you've got a drummer in your life, that would make a great present. So yeah, check it out. I've been enjoying reading it. Nick, you had anything you were going to say before we?
Oh, I was just going to add the Earl Palmer.
Earl Palmer.
The biography is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That's what I'm reading right now. But also, shout out to all the people on Twitch that are chiming in.
Oh, yeah?
'Cause, yeah, this is our first time on Twitch, and it's good to see you around. We'll be here every Wednesday.
Yeah, thanks for chiming in, tuning in on Twitch. We appreciate it. We're newbies to Twitch. We're absolute newbies, absolute beginners. But this has been fun to throw ourselves into the deep end of the pool and try out some new stuff during this time. So thank y'all so much. We appreciate it. We're going to say